All right, look at that. Automatic again. All right. How is everyone doing? I hope you are doing well today or tonight. We are booking it through this series so far anyway. Knock on wood if you are into that sort of thing. It's something that my family always did. I think it's a touchwood thing from back in the war. I read there's this really interesting book called Amulets, Talismans, and Mascots. It has a subtitle like In Other Ancestral Charms or something like that. But it's a really interesting book. I highly recommend it. One of the things it talks about is the idea that during the war there were these wooden dolls that were handed out, and that, you know, that may have came from a certain type of tree that had a certain kind of belief, but that's, you know, how traditions evolve over time. And so that's one of the reasons why people say knock on wood, to banish harmful forces, or to vibrate that into existence perhaps as well. Anyway, we are on day 19 in the path of Qulielfi, the shadow of Kof. Here is the image of the card here. Alrighty. Screenshot that if you want. I did not prepare the books last time, so I must do that now. I apologize. Thank you for your patience. Editing on this channel? Not yet. Alright. Yeah, there's been a few times where someone's called and I've had to edit a video, or someone's knocked on the door. Alright, let's do this. Make sure I'm in frame here for everybody. Like it matters. I guess it does a little bit. Okay. Tunnel 29 is under the influence of the moon, and is the haunt of the witch, typified by Hecate. By haunt, I think here we mean like a location, like a fairy haunt, or like something like that. It's a loci. Tunnel 29 is under the influence of the moon, and is the haunt of the witch, typified by Hecate, H-E-K-T, the frog-headed goddess and lady of transformation. Qulielfi is the sentinel. You could say it however you want. Qulielfi, Qulielfi, whatever. I say Qulielfi. Is the sentinel. Her number is 266, and her name should be intoned in the key of B. That wasn't the key of B, that was just an emphasis. Maybe it was, who knows. Her sigil is to be traced in silver, like slug slime, on a circular stone. That gives, yeah, a lot of relevance to the glyph of this tunnel. Very interesting. Aside from just the phases of the moon, that is. Okay. The sigil shows 22 inverted lunar crescents, or Qulielfi, represents the termination of the qliphoth, or qliphoth, of the 12 zodiacal signs. Did you know? The central 3 crescents surmount a blind eye raying downward. It's also sort of an anemone. This symbolism refers to the 3 viable days of the 5-day lunar flow, when the phallus turns a blind eye to the eye of the moon, as she shreds her menstruum of astral creation. Hence, the magical power attributed to this 29th kala is that of casting illusions and bewitchments generally, as it is written. I assume this is from Liber Carcerorum, or 231. As it is written. Oh, this is from the vision and the voice. Okay, the note was after. It is from the excrement of Choronzin that one takes the material for the creation of a god. That means at least 4 things, if not more. Like, remember, keep an open mind when it comes to translating. The gift of tongues does not come from one flute or tendril. It is the forked tongue of the serpent that can say more than one thing at once. The title of the tarot trump ascribed to Path 29 is the Moon. Its alternative title being Ruler of Flux and Reflux. Love it. And the magic mirror is the sole item of equipment in the lunar temple when Qulielfi is evoked. Pardon me? The mirror denotes the crepuscular state of consciousness peculiar to some regions of the astral plane. It is in this state that successful astral working is achieved. For at the borderland of sleep and waking are the liars in wait, those elementals that assist in the reification of the inherent dream. We have 2 notes here. The liars in wait are mentioned by Lovecraft in connection with the fictitious Necronomicon, fictitious, in a passage that refers also to Chorazin, 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 Chorazin maybe. See The Lurker at the Threshold by H.P. Lovecraft. This is the city of Babylon, as Choronzin or Choronzin may be called the city of the beast. The tunnel of Qulielfi leads to the city of Chorazin, and the liars in wait are the Cliffotic or Cliffothic ring pass not without the city. The liars in wait may equate with the Gogiel, hinderers. This is the shadow of Hokmah. Listed in Liber 777 as the order of Cliffot, column 8, associated with Mazlot, or the sphere of the 6 stars, so Hokmah. Second note, in Crowley's cult of the beast is of the inherent dream. Moving on. The secret symbol of this tunnel is a dreaming woman performing in her twilight state the manual magic veiled, not so veiled, the manual magic veiled beneath the symbol of the 8th degree OTO. OTO, the number of Qulielfi, confirms the symbolism. For 266 is SVR, or S. It's presumably Samik Vavaresh, but meaning Ola, a pot or vase, a glyph of the vulva in its passive and solitary phase. Okay. But the formula of this tunnel comports another element that is by no means as passive. It is under the sign of the frog, the transformer from the waters. This totem typifies the evolution of consciousness from the amphibious to the terrestrial state. The frog is the leaper or jumper, which implies a specific formula in connection with the other side of the tree of life, also known as the Citra Akra. In the cult of the black snake, this formula is referred to as that of the Voltigeurs, the vaulters or leapers. Michael Bertial, or Bertio, I think it's O when there's an E, and ow when there's not, but it's Bertiaux. Yes, I've heard of him before, and I think I've even read some of his works, but that does not mean I know how to say his name. Michael Bertial alludes to the pathway of the Voltigeurs, or Voltiguers, perhaps, in connection with the voodoo Veve of the Morassus, or twins. See note 4, Cults of the Shadow. I believe it's pronounced Veve, but it's spelled V-E-V-E-R. The Vever or Veve shows the 3 columns of the tree represented by the central pole of the Hungan, H-O-U-N-G-A-N, Hungan's tent or hut. Bertial has crossed these 3 columns with the baton of Guede Nebo. See note, the voodoo equivalent of Saturn. To show the way of the Voltigeurs, as well as the pathways for the secret schools of voodoo initiation, he goes on to say that behind each of the Sephiroth, there are the secret pathways. Pathways developed by the various specialized magicians and their apprentices within the various secret sects, which are based entirely on magical discoveries and insights and communicated by initiations on each of the secret pathways. See note, Grade Papers of the Monastery of the Seven Rays by Marco Bertial. So, did we talk about the secret pathways? You'll figure it out. Charles Stansfeld Jones, Frater Akkad, who jumped from Yesod to Binah by what he termed an unusual method, Cults of the Shadow, had recourse to the secret paths alluded to by Bertial. The deeper significance of Akkad's magical leap from Yesod to Binah is assumed by the formula of the leapers, as it applies to the tunnel of Qulielfi. This might be where Patreon comes into play. And not even for money, just so that some of this information can be harmful. And I wonder if there's like a way to do like a questionnaire for like Patreon grades. I don't care about the money. I would never restrict this information behind a paywall. The most I could fathom charging for like the highest subscription for I almost call it a Pantheon. A Patreon would be $10 a month, because I feel like anybody can come up with like a quarter a day somehow. But anyway, the idea is like I want to go more deeply into this information, but like I don't want to just give someone who's psychologically unstable a formula that's going to make them even more volatile. I don't see this as gatekeeping. Maybe it is. But I mean, I'm giving all the symbolism. If you know where the lock is, you have the key. So maybe I'll just leave it at that. Frater Akkad attained a profound insight into the nature of the abyss through his initiation into the backward paths of the tree. It was Akkad who announced the onset of the Aeon of Ma'at. See note, Cults of the Shadow, Chapter 8. With its formula of the daughter as a balance to the present Aeon of Horus, typified by Ra Horkuit, the Aeon of the Sun. Very interesting. I wonder if Frater Akkad hadn't trained under Crowley and all of these things, if he would have declared like an Aeon of a different pantheon. Ma-Ion, or Ma-Ion, M-A-I-O-N, is the Aeon of M-A-A-T. That is being interpreted the master of the temple of A-A. So there's 2 notes here. Ma-Ion, 9. This was Frater Akkad's name for the Aeon of Ma'at. And then master of the temple of A-A has a note. Liber what is that? 370? Liber 370, CCCLXX, C Magic, page 496. Okay. Akkad had become a master of the temple by jumping from Yesod to Binah. He notes that this had to do with the covenant of St, or Set, proclaimed by Aleister Crowley, naturally. Unpublished Letters of Frater Akkad, first series, is the note there. Ma-Ion, or Ma-Ion, suggests by metathesis or metathesis the Mo, or Mu, MV, Aeon, A-Y-O-N, see note, the dark doctrine. Mu-Ion, very interesting. Hinted at by Michael Bertiow in his 4th year grade papers, 13. Big note here, guys. Okay, in a supplementary paper edited by Michael Bertiow in 1975, appears this illuminating statement: will, magical and totally irrational will, power, i.e., free of rational and static repression, is the doorway to universe B. Thus, the magical will and the true will are identical, and if one is the doorway to universe B, so also is the other. It will be seen that this equation has vitally important and far-reaching implications, for magic is the apotheosis of the irrational, and as such, in its profoundest sense, is the key to the dark doctrine, Mo-Ayin. And Ayin is I. What is Mo? Mem-Oyin, or Mem-Vav. Interesting. I'm not going to digress that far. I was going to look it up in the Hebrew dictionary. So, we are right here. Akkad approached very nearly to this dark doctrine when he examined Liber Al in the light of his sudden accession to the grade of M.A.A.T. Instead of interpreting the doctrine in the light of the secret gnosis of Da'at, he permitted his personal hatred of Crowley to distort his vision, as evidenced by the following comments on the key characters of the Book of the Law. All these master of the temples getting triggered, bruh. The so-called goddess Nuit is, when understood at her true value, the ethereal realm of nature, the lowest plane of the universe, without trace of consciousness, and characterized chiefly by space, masquerading as infinity, and the Queen of Heaven. Ra-Horquit, the child of the false union of the human soul and the void, is really the zeitgeist, the time spirit, as opposed to the spirit of eternal truth, that which perpetually denies and is falsity itself, masquerading as the Lord of the universe, God. Would that also be Yaldabaoth to you Gnostics out there? I'm unsure. The joke upon humanity, if such may be called, is that Nuit, by means of the voice and personality given her by Aiwass and 666, sugarcoats the process of dissolution by crying unto men, "Come unto me," thus luring them, not to the highest, as might be expected, but to the lowest and most negative realm of the universe. The brink of the black abyss, the universe B phase of Bertiau's equation. Hadit, H-A-D-I-T, on the other hand, masquerading as the Lord and giver of life, the knowledge of which is admittedly death, Da'ath, as explained in part 1, supplies the negative ideas that will, if accepted and acted upon, aid the soul in this process of self-destruction and final dissolution. Ra-Hoor-Khuit in the abyss awaits the victims of this process with his promised vengeance, capital V, which, in the meanwhile, is threatened against all those dogs of reason who might turn toward the real truth or think of exposing the illusion and error of this new aeon, it says in quotes, system. See note, unpublished letters of Falorio. I definitely see where he's coming from, but I feel like every person is just one slice of the pie, you know? Just like each book, each holy text is just one slice of the pie. Yet, this is precisely the path that the new aeon has come to prepare. The path that will achieve its apotheosis in the Aeon of Ma-Eon, or the Aeon of Ma-Eon. Ion is an interesting word. Think about the word compassion. Okay. The path that will achieve, let's see, yet this is precisely the path of the new Aeon has come to prepare. The path that will achieve its apotheosis in the Aeon of Ma-Eon, when the Ma-Ayan, the dark doctrine of Da'ath, or Da'at, becomes the formula of attainment. Those of you that are looking at what's going on culturally through the lens of esoteric philosophy, look for some of these Typhonian, Draconian, and Ophidian symbols, and watch the types of energies that surround them. Not that they're bad, not that they're good. It's just very, very evident that the consciousness is a gate, and among many other things, I'm sure. And by putting these keys out there, it pushes buttons in the psyche, and it brings around and brings about cultural change. Mo-Ayon, M-O space A-Y-O-N, or Ion, A-I-O-N, equals 891, which is the number of Uranos, U-R-A-N-O-S, heaven. Uranus, the planet, is assigned to Da'at, as if to assert the identity of heaven with the place of the abyss on the Nightside of Eden. 8 plus 9 plus 1 equals 18. Het. The great work symbolized by the Grail of Babylon. See note. See remarks on Tunnel 18. The number 18 reduces to 9, which is that of the lunar current and of Yesod, the place of the secret ion, hyphenated secret ion or secretion, that Akkad failed to find. 17. See note. See Cults of the Shadow, chapter 8. Yesod is the equivalent of Da'at on a denser level of awareness. Couldn't one say that Malkuth is as well? Who knows? It is the center of the psychosexual dynamics connected with the magic of the OTO. But the most startling gematria of Mo-Ayon is obtained when it is taken as Mu-Ayon, 177. For this is the number of Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, the lost paradise. MV equals 46. Ion, A-I-O-N, equals 131, total 177. The importance of these numbers has already been remarked. 131 as the number of Samael, i.e. Satan. So we can do that, but we got to be careful when we do that. Samael, i.e. Satan, the guardian on the threshold, and of Pan, Baphomet, and Mako, Set, the son of Typhon. Eliphaz describes the number 46, MV, as the key of the mysteries. MV is semen, from the Egyptian word mai, male seed. It is also the word for water, the first ancestral essence that was primarily feminine. Okay. So we have ZRO and MV having a relationship through the sacred seed. $131, Satan, added to 535, Cateus, yields 666. The number of the great beast of the city of Choronzon, which is in the abyss. Thus, the dark doctrine of Da'at is of the Aeon of Mot, whose mystery, as Frater Akkad realized, had to do with the covenant of Set. It may now be understood in which sense the tunnel of Qulielfi is equated with the magic mirror, the twilight of the place. For the moon that illuminates this tunnel is of Da'at, not of Yesod. Hence, in Liber 231 we read, by her spells she invoked the scarab, the Lord Kef Ra, so that the waters were cloven, and the illusion of the towers was destroyed. I wanted to read it again, but I'll move on. Kep Ra is literally the backside of Ra, the sun, i.e. the moon. The waters refer to MV, the water of the abyss. The towers are those of the black or dark brothers. This points to a mystery concerning the true meaning of black magic. For the dark doctrine is that of the dark brothers, who appear upon earth, i.e., on the hither side of the tree of life, as black magicians. That's one way they manifest. Crowley, it seems, was unaware of this signification otherwise. He would not have referred derogatively to Austin Spar as a black magician, which Spar assuredly was in the sense just explained, for he was an initiate of the dark doctrine. And this is where we get into semantics. You know, I guess to make it simple, if anyone cares, a very simple basic way to break down magic so we don't have to get into like the good versus evil, black versus white thing is like I typically will break magic down in like one of three ways, either black, white, red, or black, green, red. And black is protective, white or green is blessings, and red is baneful. We don't need to necessarily always get into the like left hand, right hand, black, white, like, you know, dichotomy dialogue. No matter what type of practitioner you are, like you're probably doing some form of protection and some form of blessing and or some form of baneful. That doesn't necessarily mean that like you're this or that type of person or practitioner necessarily. It can, but it doesn't necessarily mean these things. Okay. Frater Akkad himself approached very nearly to an understanding of this mystery of true black magic. True black magic. But like many occultists before and after him, he was blinded by assuming that Universe B is evil, whereas it is, like Satan, merely the adversary of the sense of individuality that is generated in man by illusory egoidal consciousness. E-G-O-I-D-A-L. Ego idol. I love it. I love the idea of conceptualizing it into a word like that anyway. In Universe B occurs the the dissolution ... and the kisses of Nu, i.e. the waters of the abyss. That Hadith promises in all 2:44 C note. Note the number of this verse is 44, which is the number of blood. That's one way to say it. Okay, this also explains the nature of the Qliphoth or Qliphoth, the Nashimiron, or malignant women that are said to haunt the tunnel of Qulielfi. Finally, the symbolism of the leaper, typified by Hecate, the frog-headed goddess of the Voltigeurs, of the backward paths, is emphasized by the ascription to this Kala 29 of the mangrove, the swamp tree, haunted by frogs and other members of the Batrachia. Another thing that's interesting about mangroves is an entire island can be started by just one seed. One pod can fall and hit an eddy and grow roots, and then, or a rock or something, and then collect other pods like it, and out in the middle of the water or just right off the coast, an entire island can be formed by one rooting pod in salty water or swamp water. Very symbolic. It's almost like a Qliphothic lotus to some degree. Moving on. Finally, the symbolism of the leaper, typified by Hecate, the frog-headed goddess of the Voltigeurs of the backward paths, is emphasized by the ascription to this Kala 29 of the mangrove, the swamp tree, haunted by frogs and other members of the Batrachia. Lovecraft has alluded to these creatures as those that foregather in the proximity of the great old ones, or their minions. Their croakings herald the emergence from Universe B of the forces of evil, which are, more precisely speaking, the true powers of darkness, or non-being. The mangrove is thus the tree of death, typical, or the other side of the tree of life. All right. Into the Shadow Tarot by Linda Falorio. Again, here's the image. Qulielfi, the shadow of the moon. In the dream time, everything is possible. By gazing at one's thumb, illumined by the moon, we come to see a fantastic reflection of our shadow self. Qulielfi exists in twilight, at the borderland of sleep and waking, at the threshold of the astral world where elementals, lurkers at the threshold of the personal subconscious, lie in wait. Terrifying, yet seductive and fantastic dreams and visions arise according to the dreamer's temperament. The solitary witch, indulging manual magic during the dark phase of her moon, spins hypnagogic phantoms as a spider throwing silk from spinnerets, condensing her illusions into materiality upon the surface of the magic mirror. This moon magic has brought forth an astral werewolf, a goetic demon with griffin's wings and a serpent's tail. A demon lover, shadow self, climbing into space-time to go forth and do her bidding. Qulielfi is drawn with slug slime, slugs whose iridescent bodies, thriving in the moist night, expire when exposed to daylight, then are cannibalized by their fellows when the sun again goes down into Amenta. The sigil is traced on limestone of the great pyramid of Cheops, pale as the shining moon herself. If any of you were actually to go as deep into these rituals and ceremonies as to collect a slug and to draw its sigil on limestone, you may have some interesting experiences. While the towers of the dayside tarot path of the moon have transmogrified into the spread legs of the priestess, That being said, there are many other things you'd have to do other than play patty cake with a snail on a rock. Moving on. While the towers of the dayside tarot path of the moon have transmogrified into the spread legs of the priestess grown into twisted mangroves, guarding the pale gate of the black abyss. A deadly coral snake, whose single bite brings rapid death. This is distracting me, sorry. It's like I can see my hair poking out. Anyway, sorry. A deadly coral snake whose single bite brings rapid death crawls menacingly between them, eager to partake of the poisonous moon juice she distills, and which brings dissolution and the kisses of new, forced entry to Universe B via the brink of the black abyss of death. The Peruvian lily, abundant in these mangrove swamps, blooms as the moon rises in autumn at the equinox. Beautiful. Its heady night perfume, an opiate. Batrachian voltigeurs leap from limb to limb across the dark abyss from Earth Moon of Yesod, Svadhisthana chakra, toward the dark moon of Da'at. Svadhisthana relating to the second chakra. Or not relating to, that is the name of it. Okay, so we're continuing on. Across the dark abyss from Earth Moon of Yesod, Svadhisthana chakra, toward the dark moon of Da'at, Vishuddha chakra. Their cloaking, heralding the emergence from non-being denizens of the Dreamtime, Universe B. These amphibious beings, the Moa, progenitors of the people of the sea, black of hair, dark of skin, plying their seal skin coracles, C-O-R-A-C-L-E-S, coracles, are remote ancestors of Pacific Islanders, Australian Aboriginals, and Eskimo. Not sure if that's still the preferred nomenclature. E-S-Q-U-I-M-A-U. I don't know. Qulielfi meditation. Qulielfi's powers are enhanced imagination. I hope I didn't just like spell out letter for letter of some sort of pejorative or slur. My apologies if I did, truly. Qulielfi meditation. Qulielfi's powers are enhanced imagination, the ability to astral travel, power to affect subtle levels, as in casting spells and bewitchments. Qulielfi is affinity with the moon, with water, crystals, natural cycles, and tides. In Qulielfi resides prophetic dreams, clairvoyance, and artistic vision. Qulielfi sees magic as neither white nor black, but colorful. Interesting. In Qulielfi, we access the dark body sorceries of ancient Egypt. Kem, the Black Land. Qulielfi is access to the fertile radiations of the dark goddess. Black Isis, New Isis, and that's N-U, Isis, in the forbidden power zone of Amenta. Qulielfi gives power to enter the storehouse of dreams and Akashic records, the storehouse of racial and genetic memory, recapitulating the evolutionary past via the cerebellum. The back brain, Qulielfi. Kof, the back of the head. Thus, falling backward, out of time, from Universe A into the dream time of Universe B, everything is possible. Asenath Spar suggests gazing at one's thumb, illumined by the moon, until the eye goes out of focus, when the thumb becomes an opalescent, fantastic reflection of one's self. Interesting. The energies of Qulielfi are signaled when we find we are requiring little sleep. The energies of Qulielfi are signaled when we find we are requiring little sleep, and our sleep we find a lack of dreams. I'm so focused on my odd 12s, I can't think about what I'm actually saying. The energies of Qulielfi are signaled when we find that we are requiring little sleep. Or, there we go, or in our sleep we find lack of dreams. Okay. So it wasn't my speech impediment, it was that I missed a word. Okay, apologies. Qulielfi is signaled by discomfort with uncertainty and shadow and lack of imagination. Qulielfi is signaled by excess of superstition, nightmares, and of fear. Qulielfi may bring horror of the preternatural as expressed in the writing of Lovecraft et al., or even an irrational dislike of everyday domestic cats. The danger of Qulielfi is addiction to practices and substance that keep one perpetually glamoured by the mauve zone's sinister delights. Okay. Yeah, it's frankly quite amazing that I even do this, because though it's not always apparent, I do have a stuttering issue from time to time, regularly enough to be frustrating to me and to have been chuckled at more than once. I do have a problem a lot of times when it comes to R and L, the combining, and I do have a very mild form of dyslexia as well. So the fact that I'm doing this is like crazy to me. Anyway, that's it for this one. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. And thanks for stopping by. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And yeah, take care. Thanks for stopping by.